Hey, welcome back. I'm going to talk a little bit about the 14th anniversary bundle really quick. I don't actually have this bundle on my main account or my free-to-play account, so I'm going to talk about it kind of from the perspective of my free-to-play account where I have a T6 coupon. My main account has two T6 coupons, so I'm kind of contemplating what ships I want to buy and whether they're worth it, basically. And as with any new bundle, it's probably safest to wait a little while. I do want to mention that right now the bundle is 25% off, but these bundles do frequently go 35% off. So if you're really tight and you're going to buy out the whole bundle, then it kind of makes sense to wait a little bit. And ship sales, 20% off is good, but they do sometimes go 25% off. These sales are every, 1 or 2 months. So at least at the moment, there's not a lot of reason to feel pressured to buy it right this second, even though, it's the hot new thing. If you do buy the entire bundle, you do get a couple of extra bonus things. You get this rifle, these traits that aren't particularly good, but honestly, I'm happy about that because I don't want like overpowered, really good traits to come in expensive bundles like this and that be the only way to get them. I don't think that's very fair. You get this hangar pet, which is kind of cool. A couple of other things, keys, a T6 coupon, some ship slots, etc. And the bonus ship that you get is the Tal Shiar destroyer, which is a relatively old, 2017 ship. It's not full spec, but it does have Lieutenant Commander Intel and a Lieutenant Pilot seat. But it's actually just measurably worse than the Hysperion Intel battle cruiser that we got this last summer. So if you've been playing since summer and you have the Hysperion, that ship is better than the Tal Shiar one. Unless you just really want the theme or the look of this Tal Shiar ship, I can't imagine much reason to buy the entire bundle. But I'm going to go through each ship individually, and again, remember, this is with the context that I'm probably only going to be able to afford one ship, either from this bundle or from elsewhere in the store. For quite some time because I'm not really grinding this free-to-play account like I used to. I used to grind it quite a bit, but now I'll probably do the event campaign coming up, which is pretty exciting because the new event campaign, you get all of these rewards. So I'll get some lobby, maybe consoles, or maybe a ship, a couple of coupons for other ships, so this might factor into what I use those on in the future, and some kind of premium ship that I haven't decided on. So the first ship that's part of the bundle was already a ship that existed. It's not new for the bundle. It's the Recon destroyer, in this case the Lafayette. You can also use the New Orleans skin. I actually have this over on my main account. It used to be pretty meta for support builds running Jubilant Cadence, which is a trait that basically gives your entire team a nice speed boost, as well as some buff ability cooldowns and all that. And the console that comes on it, hyper-focusing trinary arrays, it's a negative 75 damage resistance debuff to a target, but only a single target. So there was a time when this console was really, really useful on nanny builds and support builds and that kind of thing. And it still is. Still, it's a really good console. But I'm not sure if this would be the best use of a T6 coupon, especially for this account. The next ship that comes in it is the Tier 3 heavy cruiser. You can actually buy this ship with dilithium, and it's not even that expensive. So it's a cool, neat little bonus, but I can't imagine much reason why you would spend buy the whole bundle for this particular ship. Oh, and real quick about the Lafayette. The bridge officer layout, it's very tack heavy, and you do have a Lieutenant Commander Intel seat, but it's kind of been power crept out of favor in some ways, so it's also not, the ship itself is not super meta. And remember, you can build a million DPS build on any ship in the game. You could use a T5 ship and do a million DPS if you have the right supporting equipment. So, it's you have to think of ships on a relative scale, and on a relative scale, this is not a high performance ship. It's fine if you like the ship, though, obviously. I think it's actually really cool looking myself, so I would fly it. Alright, so now for the ships that are new to the bundle, I'm going to start off with the Princeton Miracle Worker Cruiser, which is a full Miracle Worker command ship. as well as a lieutenant commander command tactical station. So you could do like concentrate firepower and torps, or you could do some kind of mixed type build. You do get an extra universal console slot, but the ship itself isn't crazy special. The trait seems kind of interesting to me. Basically, when you're below 90% health, any healing you receive triggers radiation damage to whatever you have targeted. And the console is kind of similar. Basically, it's a area of effect around you, radiation damage, also based on your total hull capacity. So you have to heal rapidly to prevent from being killed by this console. And healing obviously gives you extra damage with risk versus reward. So I think these two are kind of designed to go together. But I don't think it's going to be crazy powerful, or at least I haven't seen anything crazy from it yet, but I'm sure give it a little time and someone will figure out something. I do wonder how this works with obfuscation screen. So obfuscation screen is pretty popular in PvP. When you first use it, it drops your ship to 0%, and then it heals you once for the amount of hull that your ship is. So like I have 112,600 hull, right? If I hit obfuscation screen, I go to 0, and then see that 112,628 healing ticket just healed me for the full amount. So technically, if I had someone targeted and I had this this new trait on, it would have applied that 112,000 damage as a radiation hit to the target. But the main thing about this is that it's once per second, so it does limit you in that way. And obviously, if you're tanking and you're doing a good job of it, you're not below 90% health for very long. So it's a neat concept, but I don't think it's going to be all that crazy. So there's nothing on this ship that is making me want to part with my T6 coupon, to say the least. The next ship is the Chekov Intel ship, kind of hammerhead looking angular thing. You can also use the Springfield skin, which is kind of cool. You get this little like wing on the bottom, nacelles on top. And this one, it is a full Intel ship and a Lieutenant Commander Temporal. So there aren't very many ships in the game that can run all 6 or 7 of the spore-infused anomalies sources. But this ship can do it, so you could do Gravity Well, Ionic Turbulence, the Intel ability, Very Cold in Space, Subspace Vortex, and then in the Temporal station you could do Timeline Collapse and Chronometric Inversion Field. And if you really wanted to, you could put Tychon's Rift in like this other station, and you could use all of the possible sources for spore-infused anomalies. That's pretty cool. But the main drawback to this ship is that even though it doesn't say that it's a spearhead, I guess Science Warship is the way that's denoted. It has a 4-3 weapon layout and a fixed Lieutenant Commander tactical station. It's kind of the same problem that the legendary Vesta had. This Lieutenant Commander tactical station is really restrictive, and it's not that you can't work around it. You could do the morphogenic set, you could do attack pattern beta or mines or whatever. You can definitely still make good use of it, but the key thing is that the reason why ships like the Verne have remained the meta science DPS ships for so long is that all of the seating on that ship is science except for one ensign engineer. And this ship, you're stuck with a Lieutenant Commander Tactical, which means 3 tactical abilities that could have been 3 science abilities. So that's the main drawback to this ship. It's still going to be pretty powerful, though. And it also has a built-in lance that does some kind of EPG damage, and a console that does some kind of like beam that you can maintain on something. Does fire damage. Either way, that's a pretty cool ship. Even if it's not necessarily the very tippy-top best meta build that it could be, it's still a pretty powerful option. The next ship, and this is probably the most like meta choice in this, is the Ahwahnee command carrier. You can also use the Cheyenne skin, which I think is cool, or the Constellation skin, which is really classic looking. But unlike what this visual might make you think of a cruiser, This is a 3-3 weapon layout command science carrier with a commander science command station and a lieutenant commander miracle worker station. So it's actually really similar to a ship that's already in the game, the Seneca, which is the same kind of thing. You have a full commander science command and a lieutenant commander miracle worker station and 3-3 weapon layout. So that's pretty similar, but the main difference on the new Ahwahnee is that two things. The trait that it comes with increases haste. 33% haste for 10 seconds when using a command or hull or shield heal. And this applies whether you use it on yourself or if you use it on an ally. But there is a 30-second lockout for this. So 10 seconds of haste, but it's going to be off for 20 seconds before you can use it again. So it's not quite that powerful. It's really like 11% haste if you average it out. But the console that comes on it is stupidly overpowered. The Fleet Power Network Array. If you target a friendly ship and activate the console, it gives them a 62.5% haste buff, and this does stack. So 4 people can apply it to 1 DPS user in a supported run, for example. You can also use it on yourself, but the main thing that's broken about this is the tooltip here says that it applies the weapon cycle speed, haste speed to weapons, but it doesn't. It actually applies the haste to everything. That includes bridge officer abilities, bridge officer cooldowns, universal consoles, the Zendarian Defender, the jellyfish. When that's deployed, the electrical damage it deals also gets hastened by this console. And if we pull up the combat meter here in the background, real quick, I'll show you a run from just this weekend. We used a jellyfish to apply the haste. Here's the run, 6.8 million DPS in an HSE that only took 27 seconds. And if we look at where the damage actually came from on the jelly, it's all the deployed jelly mode. And 303 attacks in just 27 seconds. And that's because all 4 of the other ships in the run used this haste clicky on the jellyfish while it was deployed. And that was like the 3rd or 4th run that they tried it. That's not even an optimized run. And we're near 7 million DPS. So I fully expect this to be nerfed in some way. I don't know if the stacking is intentional or not. It might be. But the haste applying to like consoles and buff abilities and all that stuff is definitely not intended. And one of the other things it does is like certain consoles, if I activate like DPRM here, for example, if I activate that, see how it says 20 seconds and it starts counting down? It hastens this as well. Same thing with like tractor beam repulsors, that count. So if someone uses that console on you while you have DPRM, you won't actually get 20 seconds of DPRM. You actually only get like 7 or 8 seconds of it because it ticks down faster. It's almost as if when it's used on you, time is moving faster for you, but just you. Which is cool. It's very interesting, but I doubt it's going to stay in the game like that because it's pretty broken. And speaking of broken things, but that are still kind of cool, this ship also comes with a hangar bay with Federation Type 7 shuttlecraft. That's a new hangar pet that has attack pattern beta. The elite version of the pet has fire at will, and it's supposed to have attack pattern beta 3, like a Tholian Meshweaver pet, which is like popular nanny support pet for energy runs. So this could be a really, really good pet, but at the moment, the elite versions only have beta 1. So I also expect them to fix that at some point, but since that's like, it's not like super broken, it's not a high priority fix, so it could be fixed tomorrow, it could be fixed 6 months from now. I don't know, and that's part of the reason why I don't have this ship yet. I don't have this ship on my main account either, because I'm not going to use a T6 coupon or buy Zen or trade dilithium for Zen and spend it on a ship that could potentially... This console could be nerfed into obsolescence in one patch. And I know that's true of anything in this game, but especially while something's new like this, and it's really, really overpowered, it's better. I'm just going to wait it out and see what happens before I buy anything. And then the last ship in the bundle is the Atlantis Temporal Destroyer. This ship has a full temporal seat, which means that you can use the those special molecular abilities, defensive, offensive, and support configuration. So that's kind of cool. And you also have a Lieutenant Commander Intel Station. So you could actually do kind of like a hybrid science build on this using the spore-infused anomalies, just like I was talking about before on the Chekov, but you don't have a secondary deflector. But the Commander Tactical Station, you could do like, and it's called a destroyer, but it's not really a destroyer. It's just like a standard escort. 5 forward weapons, 2 rear, and an experimental weapon slot. You could do like all cannons, scatter volley 3, and then, you know, gravity well 1, ionic turbulence, subspace vortex, very cold in space, timeline collapse, and chronometric inversion field. And all of a sudden you have like a huge amount of EPG damage and control, but then you're also hitting that gravity well with CSV3 and a bunch of cannons. Like it's probably not going to break any DPS records, but it sounds like a pretty cool ship to fly. Just based on this alone. The only thing I think that kind of detracts from it is you have this lieutenant tactical seat over here that you're kind of stuck with. If that was a universal lieutenant station, it would really open up the possibilities. And if you look at the other ships, like this one's got 2 universal stations, this one's got 2 universal stations, and then the Princeton only has 1. But it's just a shame that this Atlantis isn't one of the ships that also got 2 universal stations there. Because it could have just been a little tiny bit better, but still really, really cool. I don't know what the experimental weapon is that comes with this yet, whether it's any good or not, but the console is like a cone-shaped damage resistance debuff, kind of like Delphic Tear, which is already in the game. I mean, we're seeing a lot of repeat stuff. You know, the game is huge. There's so many items in the game. Things are bound to get repeated in some iteration, but Delphic Tear, if you don't know, it fires a cone out in front of your ship that deals radiation damage and -20 damage resistance rating to enemies that are within that cone. And this console is the same thing. It's -15 instead of -20, but it's basically like very similar to that. And then also passive increase to exotic damage and energy weapons. So also really similar to Delphic Tear, which is exotic damage and crit severity. So similar along those lines. The other kind of unique highlight to this ship is the trait, the temporal tunneling. So this gives you 100% fire cycle haste for 5 seconds, but you can only use it every 15 seconds. So that if you activate it as often as possible, it's a maximum of what's averaging out to be 33% haste, which is still really good. I mean, that's better than Calm Before the Storm by a good amount, and other haste traits. It's better than Overpowered Overgunned, which is a good haste trait. So I could see definitely a situation where this trait could be powerful. The other thing that I like about it is, even though it only lasts 5 seconds, it's such a huge amount. It'd be really cool for a spike damage, like against a boss, like we use the ultimate clicky for, or in PvP to get a little extra spike damage on someone in a short window of time. There's definitely use cases for this trait, and I think it could be pretty good. And another thing interesting about it, you get that haste when you use an exotic or temporal ability. But a lot of ships, like just the standard Hydra build that I'm on right now, I have tractor beam repulsors, right? Which deals kinetic damage, but that kinetic damage is exotic. So like 1075 kinetic damage. If I equip Delphic Tear, which increases exotic damage, now it deals 1282, which means that this is increased by bonus exotic damage. That means that Tractor Beam Repulsors is an exotic damage ability, right? So if I slot that new trait from the Atlantis and I hit Tractor Beam Repulsors, I'm going to get 100% haste for 5 seconds without any other changes to this build, so I don't even have to really work around it. And a lot of people are using stuff like Tractor Beam Repulsors even on non-science type builds like this Hydra because of unconventional systems to cool down their universal consoles faster. And in my case, I'm actually using it for 2 things, because I use it for regenerative control synergy. That's 45% hull regen for 10 seconds. And I actually keep that regen up See, 10 seconds, and then I've got Viral Impulse that also makes it 10 seconds, and Repulsors. So I basically have 45% extra regen all the time from this trait. And this is a free mission trait, by the way, if you don't know, so just go grab it. But yeah, I think that that could be pretty cool. And offensively, I'm very tempted to pick that up and try it out, because I think that the ship itself is really neat, and the trait could be a lot of fun, and it's definitely the most unique ship, I guess, in this bundle. But the best choice for like support is going to be the Ahwahnee. So those are probably my top two. I don't think it's worth getting the full bundle personally. I would just get those two. Probably on my main account where I have 2 coupons, that's what I'm going to get. And on this account, my free-to-play, because I only have 1 coupon, and I kind of have already what I want mostly for this build. Survivability is my main concern because I'm playing mostly PvP on this character. I'm probably not going to take any of the new ships. I'm probably going to grab the Sojourner, which comes with the console adaptive emergency systems. Where is it? This one. That console, it's 50 bonus resist, so that's a lot of resist, as well as 30% bonus damage. And it does scale up, 45% bonus damage and 75 bonus resist if your hull is below 50% when you activate it. And that's, now that you can use that on any ship, that's a really, really good console. And speaking of consoles you can use on any ship, since I mentioned nannies and support builds a little bit, the tactical variant of this that comes with the flagship tactical computer, I mentioned in my Rex video, that also gives your entire team 33% haste, and it's a clicky that you can use every 60 seconds, and it lasts 15 seconds, so it's like 1/4 uptime on haste. So I think torpedo builds have dominated for a long time, and I think all these changes to like that console now being unlocked, and the new ship bundle, the Ahwahnee specifically, is going to heavily skew the table in the way in favor of directed energy weapon builds again, which I think is cool because I really like scatter volley build or a fire at will build or beam overload build or something, and it'd be interesting to see what can be accomplished with a coordinated team and these traits. And if you're just doing random TFOs, remember this is still beneficial to you. If you provide the damage resistance debuff from the pets and you give haste to like your allies and that kind of thing, that helps everybody complete the run more quickly or without failing. Overall, I don't think the bundle as a whole is worth it, but these 2 ships, the Atlantis and the Ahwahnee, are pretty cool. And then the Chekov, if you're a EPG enthusiast and you want to do a crazy spore-infused anomalies kind of thing. So definitely gives me a lot to think about for this character now that I'm going to have 2 more T6 coupons at the end of the year, what to spend them on. So either way, thanks for watching and have a good one.